Welcome back to DNC live here in Chicago at the United Center. We continue to bring some of the best guests and politicians and people that are trying to make this election happen for Vice President Kamala Harris. My next guest is no different. This is my friend, colleague, but a very important person this week, Mr. Reverend Michael Blake, CEO of Cairo's Democracy Project. He's also the former DNC vice chair. But, Mike, you are also a former President Obama staffer. You've helped Wes Moore as a surrogate when he was running. And you also helped co-found the Black Men for Kamala Harris campaign, which really just kicked off just 2 weeks ago, believe it or not. Yeah. So you're a busy man. Thank you for joining us and having this conversation.
I'm beyond excited. There's an energy in the room that I really don't recall seeing at a convention. Even during Obama's time, with President Obama, people are ready. People are ready, and they're hyped, and they're excited, and they want to get plugged in. So we're ready to rock.
So when Michelle Obama says it's renewed hope, you're feeling that? Renewed
beyond.
Unity?
Well, let's also she pretty much said last night, when they go low, we go ham, right? I mean, she's clearly done with Trump.
Yeah.
And also wanted to make it very clear, this black woman and Vice President Harris, the nonsense that she's not prepared it's sexist. It's it's racist, and it's all those things. So let's have her back. Yeah, no. So people are ready to go.
You've worked on historic campaigns. Obviously, President Obama's staffer, the first black president. You've worked with Wes Moore as a surrogate, trying to help him get elected, the first black governor of Maryland, and I think the only black governor in the entire country at this moment, right now, is a black man. And now you go on this historic trail to help Vice President Kamala Harris, black woman, Indian descent, woman, black woman. What is it that you're trying to do with all of the trailblazing, Michael?
That we should get to a space where we don't have to keep creating first for people to see us as legitimate. The notion that we can have a scenario where this incredibly gifted talent, that if President Biden didn't immediately endorse her, let's be clear, this is a very different week here this week. You would have a lot of people who could have thought and would have thought they should run against her. They would have been trying to tell people that somehow she's less qualified than they were. And so for me and for us, it's about continuing to send the message that we have to be in the game. And I want for especially these young cats to see someone in me, know that someone could be from the Bronx, New York, who could come up where you came up and be in the game. You know, I was in my 20s working in the White House. There's no real ways to describe the excitement around that. But because of that, it allows me in the spaces now to open up more doors for more people. And if that training is preparing me so that we can help people make sure that she wins and others win, so that we have an Angela Also Brooks, so that we have a Lisa Blunt Rochester, so that we have an election of a Supreme Court justice in Michigan, so that we make sure that Mark Robinson does not win in North Carolina, that all these pieces happen, then I've done my part in continuing the legacy of the ancestors. Wow,
there's really an interesting part about Mark Robinson down south, because he's a man of color. He's a black man down there.
He's not all skinfolk, kinfolk.
Not all This is true. I interviewed Byron Donalds last night. That's a whole
Put him in that bucket too. Put him in that bucket too.
We got to stop this infighting. But when you said something I want to back up on about if Kamala Harris was not pushed up by President Biden, others would have said she's not qualified. When you say others, are you talking internally within the Democratic Party?
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that you had people who would not immediately say, if the president decided to not run, that they wouldn't be with her, that was them being loud with their silence, right? Dr. King has a quote that is the quote that always stays with me. He says, in the end, we remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. So if you can't say that the sitting vice president is not the most qualified to step up, she was literally elected to be there if something happened to him. Like, that's the whole purpose of this. And so, I think it was important. And so for the Black Men call, you know, which we follow the lead of our sisters who have been organizing consistently already. Shout out to Jotake and all that she's been doing.
Listen, I was on that call. It was $1.5 million or something within two hours.
On that next night, Khalil Thompson and Quentin James and Roland Martin and Bakari Sellers, we all came to Joe Paul and Mondale Robinson. We all came together and said, we're going to do our part. And we're going to shut down this narrative that brothers don't have her back. Because, quite frankly, it's a narrative of some people that just want to get some clicks as opposed to speaking truth. there is no groundswell of people not wanting to support her who are black men. What there is a groundswell of people who understand that when we do our part, she's going to be president.
Well, according to the Republican National Committee, 17% of black men now, or an additional 17% of black men, are choosing to roll with Donald Trump for this election. And this is since Vice President Harris has decided to run for president. Yeah. How does that math work, and why is that the case? Well, that you think, first off, if those numbers are legitimate?
Well, their math ain't mathing, and we continue to see that the last few years. They said they were going to have the red wave 2 years ago. It was more of a blue tsunami against them. They were confident that Trump was going to get reelected. That didn't happen. Then they had the insurrection. So all the numbers they keep saying are foolish numbers. And let's be very clear. Trump only won the last time, first time he ran, because we didn't show up. It's not that it was this overwhelming support that happened for him. You look around what's going on right here. You're going to tell me all these folks that are here and around the country who are hyped and are locked in are going to say, you know what, in 70 plus days, I'm just not going to show up. That don't make any sense.
No, but it could just be the honeymoon period. Honeymoons last for what, a couple weeks?
No, but we're past the honeymoon. Well, if that's the case, we're past that. We're past that point. We're at a month already, and let's look at the chronology of what's coming up. You leave the convention. Essentially 2 weeks after that, we're going to have a debate where she's going to put in that work and mollywop him. It's not even going to be a fair fight. Then the next day, we're going to start that morning, it being 9/11. So the president and the vice president were able to show leadership. Well, let's be real. Donald Trump is going to say something crazy. Then that night, for 4 straight days, Congressional Black Caucus's annual legislative conference. So it's hard for me to see where does this honeymoon stop? Because then 2 weeks after that, early voting begins in many states. So the Republican Party has to understand they're essentially in a 2-week window where they can't get this thing back. Because they don't have a message. Like, truly, what is it that they're saying to people? They can't say that he's more qualified. They can't say they have a better vision. Clearly, Project 2025 is a disaster for them. They don't have a message for people to vote for them. So that's why I'm feeling very confident that people will mobilize and rock with us in a way they're not going to do for the other side.
Well, what the other side is saying is that they don't know, A, who Kamala Harris is.
Well,
B, they're saying
she's the vice president.
But she's in a secondary support role. Right? I'm speaking that this is what
that's their talking point.
That's the talking point. She's in a secondary role. So what has she really done? What's her policy and agenda? She hasn't had to craft any because she's on Biden's plan. And so is this just Biden 2.0? These are the talking points that they're now starting to say. It's just Biden 2.0. If you want more of Biden 2.0, then you vote for Kamala Harris because we don't know much about her. What is her economic agenda plan? What's her policies?
Yeah.
These are the questions.
Well, if you want to have a continuation of probably the most successful term in the history of a president, I think people want that. You've had more jobs created for black folk ever. You had the lowest poverty rate for children ever. You've had all these successes that have happened. And so we can do that. Separately, from a numbers standpoint, the polling has gone up for Vice President Harris than it was before under President Biden. So the argument of people don't know her doesn't even make sense. Like, how could you say someone doesn't know her, but more people are now voting for her? It was clear they didn't want to vote for you, Trump, and he doesn't know how to handle that.
Right.
Now, let's take it to the next step. From a policy standpoint, she made the decision that her first policy rollout was around housing. Home ownership, the most critical element in having an asset for wealth creation in a community.
Right. So, and it matters to our culture and community, people that look like us.
So if we talk about an aspirational vision, I say to people, when President Obama ran, he said, I will get you 2 things. I'll get you health care and I'll end the war. If President Harris, and I'm speaking into existence, says very clearly, my vision is that we eliminate the crisis on home ownership in my first term. That's a transformational vision. That's at that element where Eisenhower's talking about highways and road. This is Kennedy talking about let's go to the moon. Donald Trump does not have that vision. His aspirational vision was let's build a wall. That ain't going to get him anywhere. And so they are in crisis. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. And lastly, his nonsense against Obama and the president was after the president was in office. Like he was saying, he never had to run against him. He doesn't know what to do running against a black woman. He's thoroughly at a loss. So their strategy has been try to mispronounce her name.
Purposely.
Their strategy has been, well, people don't want to elect the vice president. Their strategy has been, well, we don't know what they're going to do. Their strategy before was, well, Project 2025 is our project, but it's not our project, and I'm not really sure what our project is.
Well, she's the border czar, right?
Again,
so she's failed at immigration, so she will fail the country by letting a million people in per day.
You know what? When you are a moving train wreck, which they are right now, they don't know what to do, and that's their problem. And at the end of the day, you have a choice. You can decide, do I support a vice president whose president arguably had the most successful term in the history of a presidency? You can legitimately make that argument right now. Versus Donald Trump, who might have had the worst term of any president ever. And their argument is, well, don't vote for her, vote for him. That don't make no damn sense. I mean, like, it's just, like in any regard, it's illogical. It's truly illogical. And my dynamic here is we just got to tell people get in the game.
That's it. Get in the game. Get your brothers in the game. Get everybody in the game.
1,000%. We here.
You were in the conversation with us. Thank you, Michael Blake,
I'm
the
always
CEO
grateful.
of Cairo's Democracy Project, the former DNC vice chair, and all the things right here.
Thank you for Politics in Color and everything y'all doing.
Thank you so much. Stay with us.